Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Okay, we're gonna discuss learning about Islam versus learning Islam. Ilm Nafi, beneficial Islamic knowledge. And Bithni Allah Ta'ala, inshallah Ta'ala, this will kind of make a distinction and kind of help people make that connection of actually knowing Islam versus knowing about Islam. It'll make more sense as we go, inshallah ta'ala. So let's see. So we're in this plan. Let's tilt it back a little bit more real quick. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So we got learning Islam versus learning about Islam. And when you understand the difference, it'll help your deen a lot, because Islam is our religion. Like I spoke on this before, right? Islam is our religion. Deen is a way of life. So one thing that we do need to learn on the learning Islam side, right? I want to say separate, but we just gonna say difference, right? The difference between Islam and Deen, right? Religion and way of life. You understand? Because with Islam being a religion, you may have certain aspects of the religion, but you may miss a whole bunch of aspects about the way of life. And then you have to be able to bring both of them together, because a part of our way of life is having a religion, right? So, to kind of connect it a little bit, right? When you have your 3 levels of Islam, right? Your 3 levels of Islam, which is, of course, Islam, Iman, and Ihsan, or Muslim, Mu'min, and Muhsin. A Muhsin, right? When you have your 3 levels of Islam, how do you get from level 1 to level 2 to level 3? Alright? So with level 1, Muslim, you just need five pillars. right? Shahada. Salah. Let's put fasting first. Fasting. Zakat. Hajj. These 5 pillars, right, can make you. This was where you have Islam. This is what makes you Muslim. These 5 pillars. These 5 pillars, actions. So then Iman, your I don't want to dumb it down to just your basic categories of Aqidah, because it's more than that. But Iman, your belief system, is intact, correct, right? And matches your actions, right? So a way to word this is, your Islam matches matter of fact, I want to reverse that. Your Iman matches your Islam, right? Your belief system matches your actions. This is Iman. And once you're able to get all this together and see it all, involved in all this, you need your intentions and the correct sincerity. And then these done in accordance with Quran and Sunnah. Once you're able to do this, then your deen will be lived like Allah is watching. Allah sees you, right? And then that'll take you to the level of Ihsan. Living your life, living your deen, doing your acts of ibadah as if Allah sees you, right? If you can't first keep in mind and just live it like I'm standing in front of Allah. I'm doing this solely for the purposes of Allah, pleasing Allah, getting to Jannah. Like right now, with it being Ramadan, and the gates of Jannah is open. Walhamdulillah. How many of us made our first intentions was, alhamdulillah, I'm going to use this month of Ramadan to get to Jannah. Right? I'm going to use this entire month of Ramadan to get to Jannah. Or how many main intention was, I'm going to do this so I could get these sins forgiven. I'm going to do this so I could get more rewards from Allah Azza wa Jal, which we may not say it, but we speak it materialistically, dunya type rewards. More in this life, right? Who's trying to get that spouse? Who's trying to get those houses and cars? Which nothing is wrong with that. But when we be honest with ourselves, how many of us at the beginning of the month said, I'm finna use this month to get to Jannah? I'm chasing Jannah. You understand? When we get up for Fajr outside of Ramadan, how many intentions is to make Fajr? First intentions is, I'm finna make Fajr trying to get into Jannah. Or, I have to make Fajr because I have to. Let me go and get Fajr on up out the way. I don't feel comfortable leaving the house unless I made Fajr because Allah might let something happen to me. Just different things that we tell ourselves. When it comes to taqwa and being honest with ourselves. See, Jannah is the goal. Jannah is the success, especially with ease. Or how many of us consciously feel like Jannah is already given to us because we Muslim, because we accepted Islam. See, Jannah is something we have to earn. So when you're learning about Islam, you will know about the 5 pillars, right? But learning Islam is knowing how to keep your shahada intact. You understand? What nullifies and violates your shahada? See, what nullifies and violates your salat? What nullifies, violates your fasting for Ramadan and outside of Ramadan? What nullifies and violates? Look how it spells zakat. And look what nullifies and violates your zakat. Look what nullifies and violates your hajj. See, learning Islam is learning and knowing all of those things. You understand? Knowing how to get your Islam together, your Muslim, being a Muslim, and trying to move on to the steps of becoming a mu'min. Where you have to have all of these things intact along with your correct belief system, and just knowing, well, Islam has 5 or 6 articles of faith, and I could name all 6 of them. But when it starts to take a deep dive into those 6, my belief isn't correct. You see what I'm saying? Knowing Islam and knowing about Islam. So some of us, we just know about Islam, but we don't know Islam because we don't know how to put it in practice. Knowing about Islam is certain things to talk about. Knowing actual Islam is knowing how to put it into practice. On every single level, right? Let alone becoming a Muslim. So when people go to start to study, even if they're trying to self-study, Alright? Let me show you something, man. Inshallah. So, like, learning about Islam, right? You have, like, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, birthday, transition day, right? Wives, you know, when and where he lived, family. You see what I'm saying? You know, i.e., children, you know, etc. Friends, etc. Right? So these things is, sometimes we learn about this. This is learning about Islam. So some of us feel that if we know these type of things about Rasulullah, then we know Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? So we know his birthday, we know the day he transitioned, we know how many years he got to fast for Ramadan, we know how many times he actually made Hajj, right? And we know who was his best friends, we know whose was his wives, whose was his favorites, and we consider that because on this small scale, we've been taught that's learning the life of the Prophet, right? But what was a day like during Ramadan? For the Rasul? How many of us know it? Now, why is it important to know what a day like during Ramadan was? What was a day like during Ramadan for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Why is it important to know that? For implementation. He's the best example, right? This will go into the category of learning Islam. This is a category of learning about Islam. So we may know the Rasul fast for Ramadan, but we may not know how to do it the way he did it. How did he eat? Did he break his fast with a big, huge meal? And then, of course, some of us look at it like, well, he was a prophet, so we can't do exactly what he did, right? Okay, let's look at everybody around him who he approved of their actions, and they just as human as us. How did they break their fast? What did they do for suhoor? How did they carry their day out? Even when they had to work and they had to move out throughout the city. How did they deal with each other? How did they interact with each other? Did they go visit each other every day? Did they be like, look, I'm gonna bring something, we're gonna break our fast at your house today? How did they carry it? See, when you know those things, then you know how to carry it, then you learn Islam, see? As opposed to learning about Islam. Learning about Islam, things you could talk about, but we feel like knowing these things, we know about the life of Rasulullah. What did the Rasul do during the nighttime during Ramadan? Him and his companions. We need to know those things because those are things we're supposed to implement, but outside of Ramadan. Outside of Ramadan. What was the days like? How did they practice Islam? And we definitely can practice it the way that they did. But see, this is where learning Islam, because keep in mind, let me put emphasis on learning Islam is about learning implementation. Learning about Islam is just learning about Islam. Histories, they had wars, they fought, they were attacked, they built society, they changed this, they went from poor to rich. You know, these things is learning about Islam. And of course, one should learn about Islam. But it's not more important than learning Islam. You understand? So once we change the mindsets and start saying, okay, learning actual Islam is extremely important, because when we start to but some of us don't know how to separate the two. We think the stuff we've been learning about is actual learning Islam, until we come across forms of implementation and realize that we don't know it. You see what I'm saying? Like this here. Like, and I'm not trying to be funny, but like, subhanallah, I ain't gonna do that. So like this right here. How to get into Jannah. Right? How to get into Jannah. How to expiate sins. See, and these is this is your deen. Keep in mind, this is your way of life. Knowing the religion, right? Knowing that the religion, we know that Islam is our religion. We know that the foundation of our religion is Quran, Sunnah, right? The Sharia, which involves ijma', the laws of the religion. Then the way that you put them into practice and the way you're supposed to live it out from A to Z, that's your deen, right? How to get into Jannah, how to expiate sins, right? How to treat each other. How to treat each other. Who we know, who we don't know. How to treat the Muslims we know, how to treat the Muslims that we don't know, and how to treat the non-Muslims that we know and the non-Muslims that we don't know. See, when you learn Islam, you know these things from a legislated perspective. Not what you think. Not what you think. Just even with how to expiate sins. It's getting to the point. Like, not all Muslims. Now, I do want to make this clear, because sometimes individuals hear me say, I'll be having discussion with Muslims, and you can ask basic questions and this and that, and then they don't know the answer. I want people to understand. I'm not talking about people who been Muslim a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I be talking about 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 20-year Muslims. Now, not saying that everybody should know everything, but these are serious issues. When you understand the difference between learning Islam versus learning about Islam, then you can see the difference in what I'm discussing. We don't even know how, like real talking. You can sit down and say, how do you get into Jannah? Oh, well, it just had to be Allah's mercy. That's it? That's it. Oh, well, without Allah's mercy, people will try to delve into these book answers. But when they hit you with what they feel like is a book answer, it shows that they don't really understand the book answer. You don't even know how to get into Jannah. How do you expiate your sins? Better yet, how do you even know when you are sinning? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you even know when you're sinning? And like when you start to hear some of the answers, oh well, I'll just go look at the book. You just go look at the book to see if you're sinning. Even when you hear these type of answers, then you know you don't even read the book. You're gonna go look at Quran and Sunnah to see when you're sinning. What are you doing? Or just these different things. But these are the things that matter, because these are the things that you're gonna be judged on. Most definitely you need Allah's mercies. You're not going to get into Jannah without Allah's mercy at all. At all. But you have to obtain Allah's mercies. And then the things that you do, your deeds, determines the level of Jannah that you get. How to treat each other in accordance with Quran, Sunnah. How to treat each other in accordance with Sharia. And when I say the Sharia, it includes everything. With the correct intentions, with the correct sincerity. We don't know. We don't be knowing the rights of a Muslim. We don't be knowing the rights of a spouse. We don't even be knowing the rights of our children. Because we learn about Islam, but we don't learn Islam. Like, I'm serious. Real talk. You can really ask Muslims, well, how do you know when you're sinning? You be like this. What's the Islamic definition for sinning? When you know when you're sinning? And some of the answers that you hear is just like, okay, alhamdulillah. It's not picking on anybody or making fun of anybody, but it's just like, okay, alhamdulillah. It's almost baffling, because it's like, what's going on? What's going on? You know what I mean? Certain things that so like knowing how to get into Jannah, how to expiate your sins, right? How to treat each other. You know what I'm saying? What's our rights? What's violating them? How to keep Shahada intact. How to keep your Shahada intact. How to please Allah. how to please Allah. Right? How to implement the Quran. You understand what I'm saying? How to implement the Quran. So like, this is just a little short thing, man, to get people to understand there's a huge difference between learning Islam and learning about Islam. Even if a person might just bust out and, you know, they may be a student, they may be above the level of a student, and they may be on YouTube and they have people in a live class with them. But sometimes what separates is the people in the class that's live, that's in the masjid or wherever they are, they have homework assignments. The people on YouTube just get to listen and be like, okay, alhamdulillah. But they may not know how to implement those ayahs. They may be reading certain things from tafsirs, or their understanding isn't tested. So when we gonna be video watchers, we have to be able to absorb and be like, how am I going to implement that? What do I need to look to, and what's the reward for that? Like, we need to know even this, right? And this is, man, this stuff is, I'm telling you, man, this stuff is important, right? How Allah rewards. How Allah rewards and how Allah punishes in this life and the next. If you don't learn Islam, you won't be able to tell the truth. Because when you look at the Quran, certain things people may look at as like, okay, Allah done rewarded me. But in the Quran, Allah make it clear, I'm going to use that to punish these type of people. When you don't understand how Allah rewards, and you don't understand how Allah punishes in this life and in the next, and what can stop you, because Iman, right? Your belief, your Islamic knowledge fluctuates based off of sins. Good and bad deeds. So if you trying to get to the next level of movement, and when you start to really understand the Quran and see the separation between Muslim and movement, and see who gets Jannah, who get this portion of Jannah, who gets here, who's stuck in between, who goes to the hellfire, and this and that, there's some major differences. And you going from Muslim to movement, your good and bad deeds, your sins, cause you to go up and down. Right? It causes you to go up and down. It can stop you from crossing over to that movement. Or you could be movement, you can just get up to that level, and then you start sinning, and boom. You bust back down to that Muslim. Then you could, boom, bust down to be apostate. You could violate your Shahada. You could be Muslim but lead the fold of Islam. These are very serious issues in the deen. So I just want to, like, again, show the differences between learning Islam versus learning about Islam. There's a major difference. Trust me, there's a major difference, and this is why you can see individuals when they refer to saying people don't know their deen. That don't mean you don't know your religion. Oh, I'm on my deen, this, that, and the third, but you don't even know what your way of life even is. Because you don't know the difference between the religion and the deen. The milad and the deen. Some people know their religion as far as Quran. I know there's the Quran. I know there's the Sunnah. I know Allah. But we don't, we know that who Allah is on a basic, not like we understand all the names, all the attributes. Not that type of level. How to make dua, like even what's the weapon of the Muslims? How to properly understand and use and implement dua for certain things. This is what learning Islam is about. What's your how-tos? And like I'm serious, man. Some of us Muslims, and it's just like, what are you chasing Jannah or hoping for it? Or do you feel like it's automatically yours because you are Muslim? These Christianity concepts that never left us. And like I say, we may sit around, we know there's a particular, I'm going to word it this way. There's a particular covering for the man and the woman. Not saying what the covering is supposed to look like, because I don't want people to automatically Arabify what's legislated. Right? And then, what is it exactly is legislated, especially for your prayer? And then once you understand that, we'll see how much in violation we actually be. We be standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, supposedly. Looking like whatever. But we starting to make up our own religion and different things and tell ourselves certain type of ways, male and female. These is creative ways for covering. For my prayer, for my this. You see what I'm saying? This is dangerous. This is dangerous. But we may know certain things about Islam. But when it comes to those very, I don't even have to say intricate, when it's starting to come to the very basic details of Quran and Sunnah, we lacking. We lacking. Because we, throughout time and throughout history, we done went from a phase of when and see, I want to word it a little carefully. When you really study the Salaf, right, you will see what they was doing was learning Islam. See, their studying the life of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was for implementation. we'll start to read about the life of the prophet and be like, oh, okay, he did business. He was born this year. He lived in Mecca. He migrated. He went to Jannah one night. He was given a shahada. He was given the 5 salats. Abu Bakr was his man. He showed favoritism to Abu Dhar over certain companions. Abu Dhar was this. His relationship was with Umar was this. Umar tried to kill him. And when he converted that night, alhamdulillah, those are very beneficial facts to know. But where do you pull the implementation out of those things? Oh, Bilal called the adhan for him. He ordered this, he ordered that. What do you abstract out of that to put into your everyday life? See, that's knowing about Islam, Daqiq. That's knowing about Islam. We want to know Islam for implementation. So when you see, they was learning, see, like I even have an old video about the way they learned the Quran. Quran class for them was learning how to implement the Quran and live it. Quran class for us is learning how to recite it and some people to memorize it, but whether you implement it, whether you know how to implement it, whether the instructions is there for you, whether the teacher even know how to teach you how to implement any of it, that's not a Quran class for us. You see what I'm saying? When it came to like hadiths, and I'm listening to all this other type of stuff, when you go to start to look at the books of the Salaf and all these things, where the Rasul walked in the masjid like, what y'all doing? What y'all working on? Man, we in here memorizing we in here memorizing your sunnah just like we memorized the Quran. We sitting here having a hadith session. This is what they're telling the Rasul. But because people not aware of these type of books and don't understand things about the Salaf, they make up all these, just whatever they want to say about hadiths to try to tear it down. And if hadiths was the real, like it was just a few days ago, I just seen like a crazy video where this, alhamdulillah, I ain't gonna go into it, but let me close on that, man. Think about what I'm saying, man. Think about what I'm saying. And I see so many people who want to take these hadiths. Some people refer to them as hadiths of mediocrity, because people try to use them as an excuse to be mediocre. Like, okay, it was a man who came to the Rasul and said, oh, tell me something, this and that. And basically the Rasul just basically told him, if you hold on to these 5 pillars of Islam, if you make salat, if you make zakat, if you fast Ramadan, you know what I'm saying, if you're able to do these things like that, then you'll get to Jannah. And the man said, I'll do nothing more and I'll do nothing less. I'm going to do exactly that. And as the man rode off, the Rasul made the comment, if he's actually able to do it, then he'll get Jannah. But everything has to be intact. Intention, sincerity, Quran, Sunnah, not this my way to do rakats, this my way to fast, this my ways for zakat. And then you have in today's times where Muslims feel like, I don't need to do none of this, I don't need to learn all of that. because the Rasul said this and that. But look at the people who were surrounding him and his companions. How many of them just sat down and said, well, you know, I ain't going to do nothing but just pray 5 times a day. Even Rasulullah, I ain't going to do nothing but just my regular fast for Ramadan. How many of them actually said that? But in today's time, you have individuals who think this way, but they zakat deficient. Ain't never paid zakat properly ever, and may be a Muslim 30 years. Ain't even tried. Don't even want to. See, the problem is those 5 things, them 5 pillars, some of them don't violate the laws of Shahada to where when people understand being taken out of the fold of Islam, they might be out of the fold of Islam. Your Shahada might not even be intact. I'm just keeping it 100. But they feel like they use these hadiths. Oh, I only have to do this, I only have to do that. But when you understand, the Rasul may have told certain things to one person, and then somebody else asked him and he told them something different. That same thing might not be a one-size-fit-all type person. And then you have these individuals who think this, and they bring themselves down to a level of mediocrity, right? Right? But they got a girlfriend, right? They violate the fasting of Ramadan. They might break their fast just to hang out and kick it, and then don't even make the days up that they missed. Where Shaitan can slip in and play with people like that. So let's say, for instance, I get into the habit of every single morning when I wake up, let's say picking up this sin right here and tapping this table is a sin. So let's say I know it's a sin, but then one day I just happen to have this pen like this, and then Shaitan whisper, tap the table. So then I might tap the table and be like, oh man, astaghfirullah, a'udhu min ash-shaytanir rajim. Then the next day might come, then something may come on where a song or something might come in. So now the next day I'm tapping the table like this to remind me of the beat of that old music that may still be in my mind. And now because it's catchy, Shaitan got me, right? Follow me. So now every day when I get up to do my assignments or whatever, I'm tapping the table. But now I do it every single morning when I get up for a month. Shaitan don't have to whisper to me every single day to tap that table, because now it done became a way of my life, see? Now it's part of my everyday thing. See? And now I done forgot about Allah. And now I'm starting to be caused to forget about myself, see? And this is how Shaitan operate. Shaitan don't always have to whisper to people every single day, every single second. Sometimes the things that we do is because that's the life that we're on. So me mentioning that, some of these people, man, with these breaking the deen down to what they feel like is a bare minimum so that they could be lackadaisical, they have a lot of things in there that's extremely sinful. They don't need to make tawbah because they feel like they pray 5 times a day. But although they know that in real life, they might not be praying 5 times a day, or they might not be praying 5 times a day on time, but they instill these behaviors into the people around them to the point where now they pulling you down as opposed to you pulling them up, see? And a lot of this boils down to education, because you have a bunch of people that's learning about Islam, but they're not learning Islam. You understand? But anyway, let me get up out of here, man. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.